So Wuthering Waves is an open world action RPG developed by Kuro Games, best known for their mobile game Punishing Grey Raven. It seems they decided to try and strike the same lightning that Genshin Impact did in 2020, and for the most part they've been very successful in making their own mark in that space, but it's still early days. It seems at this point, if you know about Genshin, you will most likely know about Wuthering Waves. They're like apples and oranges in the sense that they offer virtually the same things, but you can definitely notice the differences between them. The marketing for this game has been going wild, with pretty much all the major Genshin creators being sponsored to cover Wuthering Waves. So inboxes are now being flooded with this content, and it's very obvious who this is for, and for the most part everywhere I look online, those people seem to be really enjoying the game. So Kuro Games are definitely doing something right. Now, seconds after starting my journey with Wuthering Waves, the very first thing I noticed was how fluid the combat feels. I think anyone who has played the game at this point will tell you the combat system here feels phenomenal for the type of game this is. With parrying, perfect dodges, and counterattacks, you feel and look awesome defeating enemies with style. This combat is actually very different to Genshin's elemental combo dynamic. This game wants you to guard break your enemies while using various techniques to avoid damage. What makes this even more fun is the experience these enemies give to the player for the first time you encounter them, as they are tricky to read, making some of these fights challenging and a lot more rewarding to beat. I know this would be considered an easy fight in this game though.
Don't worry. Speeding up. Tempest.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was so nice. Kuro Games have done a great job with how these boss fights feel, as they aren't the hardest things in the world, but they're just engaging enough that you don't walk through them with complete ease. Now, what's even better is how they reward you for these fights. In most games, you defeat a boss and you might get some armor or a sword, but in Wuthering Waves, if you defeat a boss, you get to keep it and use it to fight other bosses, along with buffing your stats by giving you various bonuses that will help carve out your playstyle as you level up. You collect these echo versions of the enemies you kill to progress in the game, as you are rewarded for collecting as many as possible. Some of them even work in unison, creating the same effect as wearing a gear set, but is just the souls of your enemies. The game starts out very simple. You, the main character, suddenly appear and can't remember who you are, so the first people you meet decide to help you out, because of course they do. You and this new group of friends go back to the main city of Zhou, meeting the magistrate who is the leader of that city, and she sends you on what is essentially a really long Easter egg hunt where you will solve riddles, and this will make you explore and start to uncover the secrets of this game's world and of your own mysterious origin. To be honest, the main story didn't hook me right away, as I was much more invested in the action sections because the combat in this game feels that good, but also because a lot of the early writing in this game is technobabble and lore dumping, and it doesn't really get going narratively until you finally solve the magistrate's puzzles. There is so much information being fed to players that the subtitles even have to have the meanings for certain words above them so that you can follow along. And that's a good thing, because otherwise I would have been really confused, but it can make parts of the story feel like a snooze fest, especially when you just had a really fun action section.
As the Moon Chasing Festival approaches, our city welcomes visitors from around the world. The festivities are highly anticipated by our people, and
I do have to say, this is not a fault to the writers for this game, as there is a lot of information to get through, and when you do get through it, you really start to appreciate what they can do narratively. And for me, a lot of that appreciation came from the game's side quests, as you meet these different people from the city of Zhou who all have different problems, and you actually find out a lot about the game's lore through some of these adventures. Some of my favorites included helping out an old man get some cool bosses that he could use to impress his crush, and solving the mystery of the piano-playing ghost that actually turned out to be a sad story about just how dangerous these enemies can be to the unsuspecting civilians. These side quests give you so much information about the different phenomenons taking place in Wuthering Waves, like explaining the retroact rain, which is rain that flows upwards, and what the enemies actually are, while still being these fun 20 to 30 minute storylines that have engaging mechanics to try out and keep the game fresh. However, narratively, just because I appreciate the small stuff more, it doesn't mean that the main story is in any way, shape or form bad. Although it does take a little to hit its stride, Kuro Games have delivered a full package narratively that only gets better as you progress. The game's mysteries and setups all have spectacular payoffs that end in a great final showdown between you and the game's main enemies, while still also setting up new mysteries. The characters each feel super distinct and memorable, my favorite being General Jian, a man who has seen the horrors of war firsthand and what it does to people, how it can push people to the extreme for the sake of victory. And what I love here is that even he is tempted by these ideas at times. The way the game plays with being morally grey is refreshing for me, and I hope the writers can stick the landing, because as the narrative progresses, people we thought were villains were actually on our side the whole time, and at some point in the past we were also on their side. The main character seems to have ties to every faction in the story, enemy or not, and this makes it interesting as you're left wondering who they might end up siding with in the future. With Wuthering Waves being a mobile game, it's easy to forget that this is an open world action RPG, and the quality on display here, just like with Genshin Impact in 2020, is actually very surprising, as the variety of entertaining / immersive boss fights that are interactive and engaging, all paired with great music, and all of this makes for a really memorable experience that's completely free, by the way. However, what's not free is some of the characters. As I'm sure all of you are aware of this by now, this is in fact a gacha game, so it may or may not require your money. Kuro Games are known for being generous. They have given out tons of asterite, which is the currency used for summons in this game, along with giving out a free guaranteed 5-star unit of your choosing, which I think is actually insanely kind. But there are battle passes and there's an item shop with stuff that will boost your overall progression if you do choose to pay for it. So yes, if you give them money, you will in fact win, just faster. Now, if you're free to play like me, you will still have a great time in the game, as for some weird reason, they made the main character a great unit that's easy to build and fun to play, and that's rare for these types of games, but I have a whole team which is built around my main character, using one 5-star and one 4-star that I got completely for free with luck alone. So I would say for now at least, the game seems to be more than fair to free-to-play players. But it's still early days. I'm actually in love with this game's design and art style. They have done enough here to distinguish themselves from Genshin Impact while still having the same anime charm, blending 3D and 2D elements seamlessly. This game is really beautiful at times. The red skies, the swaying grass, even the design for the enemies. Everything here feels super stylistic, to the point where you can show me an image without context and I'd probably be able to identify that it's from Wuthering Waves with complete ease. This is just the start of this game's life. I look forward to seeing where they manage to take it in future. However, good art styles and good level design can be hard to notice if you have bad performance. Kuro Games have addressed this issue, but I'm always for the consumer on this one, where I'd hope a game comes out in its best possible state. Personally, I didn't have it too bad, I just had some stuttering at times, but other than that, it was mostly a smooth experience. So hopefully they continue to polish the game, as they have dropped tons of updates since launch, all in regards to these performance issues. I really like the music in this game. I won't lie and say it's exceptional or as memorable as Genshin's soundtracks, but it does enough to keep the moments that need to evoke a certain feeling accurate. Boss fights have more upbeat sporadic themes, while there are more relaxing blissful melodies as you explore the open world. It all serves its purpose well and makes you feel how you need to in that moment. What doesn't do that is the voice acting. Guys, the voice acting, though not being bad, is unique, for lack of a better word. I can't tell if certain line deliveries are meant to be robotic on purpose, or the voice actor is just really not immersed. Yang, great character by the way, has some of the most odd line delivery in the game. And what's weird is she's often paired with the character Chisha, who has some of the best voice acting in the game. When Chisha speaks, she really seems alive, but Yang just feels a bit dim at times. Now, it could be a character thing, but it just doesn't feel right to me. Some characters also just say things weird at times too, so I don't know what's the deal, whether it's on purpose, but guys.
It could be dangerous for you. Okay. Tricia and I will wear these black flowers and go look for members of the Black Shores in this.
Anyways, aside from that, this is a great open world action RPG with a fun and engaging gameplay loop jam-packed with all sorts of fun minigames, activities, and collectibles to keep you distracted throughout your adventure. You can tackle boss fights or engage in time trial activities, offering unique forms of gameplay, all in the name of fun. So if you ask me about giving Wuthering Waves a go, my answer would be a strong why not. It's free if you want it to be, so there's no downside in giving it a go. Even if you don't care about the gacha stuff, this is an RPG with fun and engaging quests, a full complete main story that they will continue to add to in the future, and hours of fun that you can play alone or with friends. So if you like the sound of that, then don't skip Wuthering Waves. And see ya!